Okay, this is a little more factoring quadratic. Sometimes when you have a quadratic equation, you look at it and there's only two terms. And that's not really necessarily what I see first. The main thing that I'm thinking of when I see this is the same thing I kind of ask myself every time I'm doing a quadratic equation and trying to factor it. And that's, is there anything in common among the terms? So when I look at this x squared minus 5x, I notice there's an x in both of those terms. And whenever that's the case, every term has the same thing. I try to factor that out in front. And so in this first one, I'm going to factor that x that's in common out in front. Okay, the question then is, what is left on the inside? Well, what's left is whatever would be there, so that when I do the distributive property and multiply this thing out, I actually get this top equation. Okay, so x times x will get us the x squared. X times something has to get us this minus 5x, x times negative 5. Okay, then this is just like other factoring. I factored this to two things that are multiplied, x times x minus 5. And if two things multiply to equal 0, the only way that can happen is if one of them is 0. So either x is 0 or x minus 5 equals 0. Well, my solution for that happens when x is 0 or when x is 5. If I add 5 to both sides here, I can see that I would get x equals 5. And so that's my solution. On the one on the right, again, the first thing I do when I see a quadratic and it's equal to 0, I want to try to factor it. So I'm looking for what's in common. I notice there's 2x squared and 10x. Minus 10x, but 10x nonetheless. 2 and 10 have a 2 in common, and x squared and x have an x in common. And so what's in common is 2x. If I'm going to factor 2x out, again, what I want to look at is what would I have to multiply 2x by in these spots doing the distributive property so that I would in fact get what is this top equation. Okay, 2x times one more x. 2x times x would get me this 2x squared. 2x times minus 5. 2 times negative 5 will get me the negative 10, and the x is right there. And so that would get me negative 10x. Okay, so this is factored completely. I have two things I'm multiplying here to equal 0. I have 2x times x minus 5. So either one of those equaling 0 will make this true. Will make this equal 0 when I multiply them. Okay, so this 2x is equal to 0 when x equals 0. And x minus 5 is equal to 0 when x equals 5. And so those are my solutions.